Hey, good afternoon to you. 406 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up this hour, we'll talk to Tammy Nobles. She's the mother of Kayla Hamilton. Young lady who was murdered by an illegal immigrant, and the Biden administration let that happen. And Tammy wants to speak out about that. We'll talk to her. Michael Ding is here at 5 o'clock from America First Legal. They're suing the Department of Homeland Security. And John Daniel Davidson at 5:30 from the Federalist. We talk Nikki Haley's doomed campaign. You can chat with us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Would be great to have you with us. Okay, big story just coming out here in the last half hour. Just getting a chance, honestly, on the break, got a chance to listen to this audio, and my jaw, she has a droppeth. Kari Lake, you know her. Kari Lake officially announced a Senate bid in October for Arizona, running in the 2024 campaign in Arizona. And boy, there is something very fascinating coming out, and it sounds like deeply corrupt. Here is a Daily Mail exclusive. The writer on this is Rob Crilly. And let's see, the story was first published at 2:30 this afternoon Eastern Time, just updated at 4:01. That would be 6 minutes ago. The headline is Audio Recording Reveals the Moment That Senior Republican Figure Tried to Bribe Kari Lake Not to Run for Senate. Not to run for Senate. An audio recording obtained by DailyMail.com reveals the extraordinary moment when what appears to be Arizona's top Republican official tried to bribe populist firebrand Kari Lake not to run in the Senate race. Jeff DeWitt is 51 and chair of the Arizona Republican Party and can be heard asking Lake, a close ally of Donald Trump, to name her price to stay out of politics for 2 years. For 2 years. Now, in case you think this is just, a description, no, there is, of course, audio. I mean, I did actually say in the lead that there's an audio recording. So let's take a listen now. This is the audio recording. We'll see how much of this we can listen to. It's approximately 6 minutes long, but as it goes on, just keep your jaw up, will you? You might drool on yourself. It's unbelievable what you're about to hear. Take a listen to some of this.
Is there a number at which
I can be bought?
not be bought?
That's what it's about.
You can take a pause for a couple of years.
No.
And then go right back to what you're doing.
No. 10 million, 20 million, 30, no. A billion, no. This is not about money. This is about our country. I think it's disturbing that they would that anybody would think this is...
No, to be fair, even me, I'll say this. I want a fresh face right now for the reason that I've never seen anyone, I can't think of a single person in a federal race who's lost, ran in and won. I can't think of it. If you can think of it, let me know.
I'm not...
He says, I can't think of anybody who lost, ran, and then won. So he's trying to convince her, what are you doing? Don't run for Senate. Take the bench, come back in a couple of years.
Going to let these people who hate our country tell me not to run. You should call them and tell them to get behind me. So what's going on? What is...
Okay, so just to be clear, there was a jump cut on the image that I just saw. And what Daily Mail has done is they've posted two side-by-side photos. On the left is Kari Lake. On the right is this guy, Jeff DeWitt. And they have just a waveform in the middle of the video to show you the audio. But there was just a jump cut. So this is another piece of audio that we're hearing start right now.
To get behind me. So what's going on? What is... I'm assuming this is our friend...
This is back east.
You can tell instantly based on the audio quality, this is Kari Lake's recording, or at least it's very close to her. You can tell by the distance of his voice that it's likely her recording. I haven't read deep enough into this piece to establish that she actually recorded this, but it certainly sounds like it's close to her.
There are very powerful people who want to keep you out.
Oh no, they do.
But they're willing to put their money where their mouth is in a big way. So, this conversation never happened.
This is crazy, though.
Okay, just want to pause. I want to make sure you understand the words that just came out. There's a transcript that's supporting this on the video. He said they're very powerful people that would like you not to run. They're willing to put their money where their mouth is, he says. And then he says, this conversation never happened. Meaning, this is off the record. You're not to convey to anyone that you and I are engaged in this chat right now.
But they're willing to put their money where their mouth is in a big way. So, this conversation never happened.
This is crazy, though. They should want me. I'm a great candidate. People love me. These people are corrupt.
Well, maybe you're right.
They are right. They are corrupt.
Maybe. This never happened. Don't go. Do you ever though? I'll get myself in trouble. This, if you say no, which is fine, it's your choice. Don't tell people.
They're gonna try to have me murdered.
Don't tell anybody, he says. If you say no, it's fine, it's your choice, but don't tell anybody, he says. She goes, they're gonna try and have me murdered, says Kari Lake.
I wouldn't doubt that either. Today's world, man. If that stuff that came out last week is right about the cartel stuff, man. They say the cartel's operating in 50 states right now, like all 50. You know? So
what's going on? Who is it? What?
Forget the who. Let me just tell you the what. Let's just say there are people calling around saying, gosh, no, they can't repeat this. Never repeat this. If you say no, don't say, I got offered to buy out. Don't use it.
Never repeat this. Don't say, I got offered to buy out. Don't, he says.
Because then we lose our ability to get things done in the future.
Here's my problem. Rather than just say, let's work with her. She's a great candidate. Because they don't own.
Kari, you're interrupting the good stuff. Will you please let him make his ridiculous, totally corrupt offer to you, please? She's a TV reporter by trade. She should have the instinct here.
And it pisses me off.
Yeah, I don't know, it's about ownership.
It's about control.
I don't know it's about control. It's about being on the team. I guess that's...
This guy is a comic book villain. Are you listening to the way he's describing all of this? Like, he thinks he's so slick.
They want to be on the team.
They want you to be on their team.
But
just team. You know?
But if they're pushing a globalist agenda, I can't do that. So what do they want? What do they want me to do?
You want me to stay out for 2 years. But, I'll tell you what I can offer you. But, I said she can do whatever she wants, talking head, this and that. So, the ask...
She can do whatever she wants, talking head, this and that, he says. Now, I assume that means whoever he's talking to would either be in a position or know someone who could give her a gig in a media capacity, a talking head, this or that. So he goes on here.
She wants talking head, this and that. So the ask of me was, it's kind of funny. So the ask I got today from back east was... Back east. This is, has to stay between us. Is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and give her, to keep her out? And I said, well, what are you willing to do? Like, whatever we need to do.
This is about defeating Trump. And I think that's a bad thing for our country. DeSantis is not America first. This is about the final death blow to Trump. And I don't think that's good for our country.
And you know I love Trump. I love Trump.
He says, you know, I love Trump. I love Trump, he says. It's a little muffled there.
Not good for our country, Jeff.
It's not, but at the same time, I'm not even sure Trump can win again.
He says, that's hard to hear. I'm not even sure Trump can win again, says this guy, Jeff DeWitt.
I don't know that he can win again. I think what it really comes down to for a lot of people, it's not really about like control or agenda. It's just about the ability to raise money to win. You know, if you really want to know, all politics boils down to money. I think. Mm-hmm.
It says here that the speech is unintelligible. It's hard to even transcribe what they're saying at this moment.
And even on their end, like what makes them the most money?
I know all these consultants don't want their payday to end, and I don't want to make a deal with these kind of people. This is a hill worth dying on. I'm not. If they're going to steal the election to make me and our movement go away, I'm not letting them do that. I owe it to the people of Arizona.
Or
to carry their torch and their voice.
Or you don't go away, but you pause.
This is the battles right now, Jeff.
You pause, and refill your coffers.
No, the battle is right now. The battle is right now, and we don't have time to pause.
Isn't this the most unbelievable audio we've heard in a while? I mean, it's wild to listen to, and here it is. This guy, Jeff DeWitt. Again, Jeff DeWitt here is the head of the chairman of the Arizona Republican Party. He's 51 years old. He's asking Kari Lake to not run in the United States Senate race and saying, take the ice, or just sit on the bench for 2 years. Sit on the bench for 2 years. And we've got some very powerful people he keeps describing back east who are willing to give you whatever you want. A lot of money. We're talking a lot of money, he emphasizes. And basically for any meaningless ceremonial job you could possibly imagine, just don't run for Senate. Of course, Kari, I presume, realizing she's recording all of this, is practically giving a speech during the whole entire exchange. Just like, I'm standing up for the people. And by the way, I'm certain that that's what she believes, but she obviously has some foresight into this recording may be useful for me going forward. And she has every right, and boy, it's a public service that she's sharing the details.
On this battlefield.
You're not... You can't scratch their back. It's not afraid of you.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to offer them. And they're sitting around people that have something to offer them. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a back scratching club. That's all DC is. It's a big back scratching club. You're in no position to scratch anybody's back, and you've already made it known that if you get there, you're not going to scratch anybody's back. I don't scratch people's back. You know, I've been on the outs for a lot of people for a long time.
I don't scratch people's back. Well, then why are you carrying the bag for these people? What are you talking about? I don't scratch people's back. They're asking you to bribe her out of the race. And he won't even say who it is. He's creating strategic distance for whoever it is who wants to cut the checks, right? He's like, we'll skip the who. We'll just talk about the what. That's what he said to her. And now here he is trying to claim that he's not involved in that corrupt game.
Mm-hmm. You know, where are we in 2 years if they steal the election again?
Listen to what you're saying. Why don't we do something about it? So that we the people can pick our...
What can we do?
I'm not willing to accept that. And I'm going to be the biggest pain in these people's... Go back and tell them that. I'm running, and I'm going to be the biggest pain in their...
I'm willing to tell them that.
And they're going to have to kill me to stop me.
No, I know. Look.
You don't have to tell.
That's it. The audio ends there. How about it? All right, so here's the Daily Mail describing it. DeWitt tells Lake, 54, one of the most public faces of the former president's MAGA movement and a woman frequently spoken of as a 2024 vice presidential pick, that he thinks Trump will lose. It's time to make way for somebody else. After asking her not to mention the conversation to anyone, he makes his first offer. He talks about back east. Are there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll to keep her out? Lake reacts with indignation. This is about defeating Trump, and I think that's a bad, bad thing for our country, she says. Later, DeWitt, who was chief operating officer on the Trump 2020 campaign, frames it differently. Just say, is there a number at which, he begins, Lake cuts in, I can be bought? That's what this is about. This is not about money. It's about our country, she says. Two sources have confirmed to the Daily Mail that it was DeWitt. They confirmed his identity as the speaker. He and his press secretary did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Lake's office also did not respond. At the time of their conversation, Lake was publicly mulling a run for the U.S. Senate, so this would have been a couple months back. The episode reveals the tensions triggered after she refused to accept defeat in the 2022 Arizona governor race. She emerged as a national figure, becoming a regular on Fox, and on and on. They're just kind of, at that point, it becomes a traditional Daily Mail piece where they just describe everything that's ever happened everywhere. Although they do say Maricopa County Republican Committee Chairman Greg Berlin told the Daily Mail, quote, if this is in fact true, I'm asking Arizona Republican Chairman Jeff DeWitt to resign. Yeah, okay, I played for you about 6 minutes of audio, but there is a 10 minutes total of all of this with DeWitt asking for secrecy throughout. So that's a fascinating piece of audio. Kind of an expose on what is probably very likely a very routine conversation in American politics, not usually meant for public consumption. Kari Lake plays by different rules, of course. She recorded it, and then we now get to hear it. Another wild feature of that audio we just played between Arizona Republican Party Chairman Jeff DeWitt, allegedly, and Kari Lake is the fact that I can't tell, do you get the impression they were joking, like they were using the phrase, oh, they're going to kill me, like kind of just rhetorically? or intentionally. Like, freaky piece of audio. You heard them talk about it. The guy said, well, the cartels are operating in all 50 states. A little foreboding, huh? Just crazy. Donna's in Frederick, wants to weigh in on this. Line 2. Donna, go ahead. You're on the Vince Colonnese Show.
Hi, Vince. Wow, that was some interview. And, you know, man, they've sold us all out. And you're right. This is probably happening everywhere. God bless her for being the classy lady she is. And as far as he's concerned, I'm like still wiping the slime off of me after hearing him speak to her that way. It was absolutely disgusting. And it's a reminder that the globalists aren't just in the Democrat Party. We, unfortunately, have our fair share of them in the Republican Party. And that's the reality we're going to face going forward. And that's why we have to fight for our country, because nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point is to stand up to the corrupt system, not to be, you know, not to succumb to it, not to be bribed into it. And there's Kari saying, no, I'm not going to take $20, $30 million. No, nothing. I want to run. That's what I want to do, because I think that I'm the right person for the job. And I think, you know, there's a country that needs to be saved, and it has to happen imminently. I can't sit on the bench for 2 years. I want to do this now and, like, get out of here. So,
yeah, there's not enough money to save a country right now.
No.
When you think about it, they can't buy us all off.
What good? Yeah, that's totally right. What good would $30 million be if you have nowhere to spend it, or if it doesn't go anywhere? It's like we become Zimbabwe. It's worth nothing. Worth nothing. Coming up, we're going to be joined by Tammy Nobles just minutes away here. She's the mother of Kayla Hamilton. Her daughter was killed as a result of Joe Biden's horrific border policies. She'll talk to us and tell us what she thinks about everything that's going on right now with the Biden administration and so much more. Stay with us. Good afternoon to you. 4:34 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up, top of the hour, Michael Ding will be with us. He's a counsel for America First Legal. We'll talk about his group's new lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security. It involves mail-in voting in 2020. You're going to want to hear about this. A big announcement today. And then John Daniel Davidson joins us from the Federalist coming up at 5:30. He's a senior editor over there. We'll talk about Nikki Haley's campaign strategy. She's relying on Democrats to pad the numbers up in New Hampshire because she's not doing well with Republicans. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Some updates for you on America's southern border, or what used to be our southern border. Here's Jorge Ventura, our friend over on News Nation this morning, reporting on how Texas is handling the Supreme Court's judgment that, that the feds are allowed to break their border barriers.
This is where things are going to get interesting, Marky. Right now, we are inside Shelby Park. This is the park where it's a known hotspot for illegal crossings, and the state of Texas has essentially kicked out Border Patrol agents from conducting their normal operations. Here is that concertina wire that's been set up by Texas officials along the southern border here in Eagle Pass. So essentially, for Border Patrol agents to come in and cut through this concertina wire, the state of Texas will have to allow those Border Patrol agents inside Shelby Park. Texas sources are telling me that right now, Texas officials will not change their posture when it comes to not allowing Border Patrol agents inside Shelby Park. So things will get really interesting here on the southern border. But here, Mark, you clearly see this concertina wire that it's just deployed here all across the southern border in Eagle Pass. And officials are telling us even more will be installed later this week.
Yeah. So later this week is already here. I'm seeing video footage from the border today. Texas is installing even more concertina wire right now to back up the stuff they already have assembled, which means that Border Patrol agents are going to be very busy clipping through all of this at the direction of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, maybe there are some Border Patrol agents who want to be doing this, but the impression we've been getting from the Border Patrol Union is they don't want to be doing this. They're following the orders that Biden and company are giving them, breaking these border barriers because they could use the help. They could desperately use the help. Peter Ducey today asking John Kirby about all of this. Why is it that you're making it so much easier to get into America?
Why are you guys making it easier for people to enter the country illegally?
I don't believe we are. Why do you think we are?
Well, you guys sued to cut razor wire that was put in place by Texas officials.
So that the Border Patrol could actually do their jobs, but keep going.
Well, you won in court, so now what? The Border Patrol Union president is saying the Supreme Court's decision is going to undoubtedly encourage more illegal immigration. Do you guys know better than the Border Patrol Union?
The Border Patrol needed access, and that's why we sued to get rid of that razor wire, so that they could do their jobs. And you know what would also help them do their jobs, Peter? More Border Patrol agents. There's an idea. And if you go back to the supplemental request that we put in, there's money in there for some 1,300 additional Border Patrol agents.
The Border Patrol needed access. That was the claim from John Kirby today. They needed access, not to stop people from getting in, but to help them get deeper into our country. Now, let me tell you a little bit about someone called Tammy Nobles for a moment. We were supposed to be chatting with her right now, but we're not able, we're trying to reach her, but we haven't had success just yet. But let me just tell you about her a little bit. She is suing the Department of Homeland Security for $100 million right now because her daughter was killed by an MS-13 gangster who was allowed into the United States by the Biden administration. And Tammy Nobles testified last week before Congress about all of this. Here's what she had to say.
This could have been anyone's daughter. I don't want any other parent to live the nightmare that I am living. I am her voice now, and I'm going to fight with everything I have to get her story told and bring awareness of the issue at the border. If we had stricter border policies, my daughter would still be alive today. Nothing will bring my daughter back nor fix the pain of not having her here. But I want to prevent this from happening to someone else's child. This isn't about immigration. This is about protecting everyone in the United States.
Unfortunately, Democrats on that committee treated her and the other parents afflicted by the border crisis with some very callous disregard this past week. Joining us now on the phone to share her story and to spread her message is Tammy Nobles. Tammy, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I know that in talking to the media and certainly talking to Congress, you've told this story many times now, but I would, if you could, just tell people about your daughter, Kayla Hamilton.
Kayla had high-functioning autism. She was determined to make her way in this world independently. She was very loving, a happy little girl that had a great outlook on life. I know she wasn't little, but she was still my baby, and
Yes.
She had a great outlook on life, very trusting, and had no idea the evil in this world. Even though you try to tell your children about, that you can't trust everybody, autism has a different set of challenges for them
Sure.
than your typical children.
Kayla lost her life in 2022. The man who took it from her is an MS-13 gangster. How did you find out that he was an MS-13 and that he was an illegal immigrant?
When the detective made the arrest on January 15th, 2023, he told me at first that it was a minor who was an illegal immigrant. So we were just processing that. And a week later, when they hit their press release, when Aberdeen put out their press release, we found out that it was an MS-13 gang member. And we were really shocked.
You weren't told. You weren't told. You found out in the press that he was an MS-13 member?
Yep. Yes.
And my understanding is he had a tattoo on his chest. This is a typical feature for these gangsters, to get a tattoo to demonstrate their affiliation.
Yes. According to Jim Jordan's report and the officials that did the investigation, they had in the report that he did have a tattoo. He did have a criminal record in El Salvador in 2020 of illicit gang activity. So he came over here as UAC, which is an unoccupied alien child without an adult, came over here saying that he was scared of gang activity in his country. No, you weren't. Not when you commit a crime like this. You were not looking for a freedom away from gangs.
Now, when he came into the United States, it's your understanding that he actually turned himself into federal authorities.
No, he was apprehended at the border.
Okay, but he did. Okay, but either way, he ends up in custody, in federal custody, and they process him, correct?
They do not. They do not make the phone call. They did not check his body. They allowed him to go with an unverified sponsor. They don't even know who they released him to. If it was a male, female, dad, mom, cousin, they don't know. They just let him go with this person.
They casually released him into the country, and you've discovered that they never checked to see if he had a tattoo or any gang affiliation whatsoever.
No, they did not check at all until after. It took the Aberdeen Police Department to find out that he was an MS-13 gang member.
What does that tell you about the federal government?
That they're not doing their job, and they're just letting anyone come over.
And they're not protecting.
And there's no, they're not protecting, and you don't know how many other UACs were released here that are just like Kayla's murderer.
Yeah, MS-13 has a reputation for bringing in young people, making them gangsters, and then raining terror on the communities they arrive in, and that certainly happened in the case of your family.
Definitely it happened, yes. And there was an illegal immigrant who owned trailers in the trailer park where Kayla was, and she rented out a room to this minor MS-13 gang member in the same trailer with Kayla. And the murderer was only living there for 5 days before he viciously murdered and raped my daughter. He murdered her and then he raped her.
It's just horrific. I'm sorry that you have to deal with any of this. Tammy, what do we, in terms of processing, like how this all goes down, have you heard from the federal government at all? Has anybody reached out to you?
The only two people that have been really great was Congressman Jim Jordan has really been a warrior for us. And Mark Green has reached out just a few weeks ago and had me testify for the impeachment of Mayorkas. So those are the two. I haven't heard anybody from the state of Maryland. I haven't heard anything from the state of Virginia, where she was born and raised. She was born in Chesapeake, Virginia, and was raised here in Norfolk. And she was living in Maryland. I haven't heard anything from anybody. I definitely haven't heard anything from the Biden administration or Biden himself.
So the Department of Homeland Security, which you are now suing for $100 million, hasn't thought to once pick up the phone and talk to you about how all of this happened?
No, and of course, Mayorkas did not show up at the testimony to hear our stories. And the Democrats were disrespectful, and it was frustrating because they did not look at Kayla's pictures. They did not look at her videos. They didn't say her name. They were on their phones telling me that I'm not an expert.
So wait, while you were testifying, while you were recounting the story of your daughter's life and her awful end, they didn't even look at you? They were playing on their phones during that period?
Yes, they were on their phones telling me that I was not an expert. And it was just really frustrating because here I am sharing my story and my pain with you so there could be changes at the border so we can protect everyone that's living here.
Yeah.
and they just completely acted nonchalant, like it didn't matter.
I want people to hear an example of this. Congressman Dan Goldman of New York is a Democrat. And he, in this audio, he directs his comments apparently towards Josephine Dunn, who also lost a child. Her daughter died from a fentanyl overdose as a result of the cartels and Biden's open border. Here's how Dan Goldman spoke to the mothers.
You are here really to share your story, but you're being used as a fact witness for an impeachment investigation, and obviously, given what your experience has been, you don't have the background to understand what a high crime misdemeanor is and how it relates to this. And so I hope that you're handling that okay.
When you heard him say that, what were you thinking?
I was angry. I was sitting there like, what the world? That we don't have. We're sharing firsthand experience. We experienced it firsthand more than that professor. That I don't even know why that professor was even sitting there, really.
The Democrat
she didn't
witness.
Bring anything. Yeah, she didn't even bring anything to the table. She kept talking about the Constitution. I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? You have no knowledge. You have a degree, but you don't bring any useful information to the table.
Yes, whereas in your life, you have a real-world impact that has happened to your family as a result of your government's betrayal. And so, in other words, you are exactly the kind of witness who should be before that panel. And Dan Goldman talks down to you and the other mothers who are there like your children.
Yes, like we're idiots. I'm not an idiot. I have a bachelor's degree in information technology and bachelor of science. We're not idiots, like we know what happened because of our children.
Yes.
That's how we figured out. And we're more of an expert now than we ever were.
Yeah, it's unfortunately. This is awful. Tammy Nobles, I'm in awe of you, and I'm grateful to you for sharing your story and Kayla's story. Thank you for coming on with us. Please come back again at some point. We'd like to get an update from you on what your efforts are in terms of dealing with the government and seeing if you can't get anything back from them after all of this. Thank you very much, Tammy.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. Very nice to talk to you. My thanks again to Tammy Nobles. Always difficult to do an interview with someone who's had that much trauma in their family. Just hearing each word she said, my heart went out to her. Glad she could join us today. Very, very grateful for that. All right, let's see. I've got Paul in White Plains, Maryland with us right now on line 1. Paul, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
How you doing today, Vince?
Good, Paul.
Hey, Vince. I heard that was so sad. That lady, that last lady, Tammy Nobles.
Yes, sir.
That just touched a raw nerve on me.
Me too.
When I heard that, I started thinking about yesterday. The gentleman on the radio, that answered my call, he just told me, and I forgot what show it was, but I think it was the Laura Ingraham show, where some news reporter was on our border, and he asked this man, he said, well, who are you, where you're from? Now, I don't have nothing against anybody from the Middle East. I have friends from the Middle East. I've worked with people from the Middle East.
Right.
But this one gentleman said, he says, well, nobody knows me now, but they will know me soon. And I'm like, I'm sitting here thinking.
So I want people to hear this. I'm so glad you brought this up. You rattled it in my memory here. I've been meaning to share this. It was captured by a news group called First Responders Media. They were on the border. And just so we're clear, the tone of this guy's response is not, you'll know me soon because I'm going to be a star. I'm going to Broadway. It's nothing like that. It's straight up that it's the most menacing, you're going to know who I am very soon you've ever heard. Here he is on the border answering this reporter's question.
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're going to know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
The entitlement, guys. Wow.
Believe me, soon you will know who I am, he said. It sounds like he shouldn't be in our country, Paul. Thank you for the reminder. It's a really important piece of audio. as truly the entitlement on our border. Foreign nationals at the invitation of Joe Biden with all sorts of goals for their time here in the United States, including whatever the hell that meant. That's what we're dealing with right now. Coming up, Michael Ding will be with us from America First Legal. He's suing the Department of Homeland Security. Everybody is now, and for good reason. We'll talk to him about it.